country. I'm Aghogho, Oboh, and you're welcome to Pinpoint. And we are set to roll. We are set to drive on a very important subject matter this morning. Remember, you can always join the conversation on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM, at Aghogho Oboh. You can also talk with us on WhatsApp 0809-597-5805. And the numbers, I will let you know because this is one topic. If you're going to have this topic for discussion for an entire year, I'm not sure we'd have enough time to talk about it. So we might as well get ahead with it as quickly as possible and have you into the discussion. And it's about the distribution of petroleum. It's the conversation we're having, and it is what we are talking about, what drives corruption in the distribution of petrol. So let me give you a background to the guest for today on Pinpoint. Faith Nwadishi, she represents African civil society organizations on the International Board of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, a position she has held since March of 2013. She's a member of the African Steering Committee of Publish What You Pay and the former national coordinator of the Nigerian chapter. Served as a representative of civil society on the National Stakeholders Working Group of the Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, what you know as NATI, and has expertise in extractive governance and advocacy, as well as an alumnus of the Low Spin Center for Government in Washington, D.C. Great to have you join us on Pinpoint this morning, Faith Nwadishi.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Excellent. And the entire country is listening to you this morning, as well as watching. So you can watch this interview live on Facebook as well as Twitter. Just go to Nigeria Info FM and we'll have this discussion. So I have before me a report, a study which has been done with other paper, which is about the inefficiency and corruption in the PMS value chain, what we know as petrol. And this is something that is very valid, a discussion we should have, because there's so much controversy. In fact, I've argued with a number of people that it's easier to use the almighty formula to arrive at how the petrol pricing or how the distribution of petrol works than going through the documents that the authorities provide to us in understanding the transparency that happens within the petroleum sector. But first and foremost, give us a summary of what exactly has happened with the study that was done.
Thank you very much once again, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on this topic. Right. So, other paper undertook a study to look at the inefficiencies in the downstream sector, especially in the supply of petrol. Nigerians are really concerned about the cost of petrol, what it costs them per liter, because that's what a lot of us hear. When it comes to putting that, but there's a lot of process. And when you talk about that, when you mention the value chain, from when it is imported into the country to when it is eventually cleared and gets to the petrol stations and then into our cars. So there are different processes that has to go through. But as a background, let me just quickly sound out that in Nigeria we have 4 refineries that are supposed to produce about 445,000 barrels per day to meet our local consumption. But unfortunately, studies upon studies have shown that even though we have 4 refineries in the country, these 4 refineries have not been able to produce even at least 20% of its nameplate. And that's why you're hearing that Nigeria is importing petroleum products into the country. Last year, we were outraged that Nigeria went into a contract with the Nigeria Republic to import refined petroleum into the country. And the NPC went out to celebrate that. It should be something we're celebrating. So the study actually brought out why we have all of these inefficiencies, why we have corruption along the line, and made recommendations on what we should do. So that's, in a nutshell, what the study was about.
All right. Inefficiency along the value chain, which is interesting. And this is the downstream sector, Faith, that this study has taken into consideration.
Yes.
So talk to us about because I'm sure everyone now is familiar with the 4 refineries we have, but let's get the elephant out of the room first and foremost on what exactly, which is the biggest discussion and argument in town, whether subsidy exists or does not exist. The government in past has said that this was a mischievous thing and had done and put out statements saying it did not exist. And then we have had terms like under recovery. What did you find out in terms of how clear it is whether subsidy exists in these importation or not?
Thank you. So in 2012, Nigerians went to the street to protest the removal of subsidy.
Right.
And then we have, when this present government was coming in, they assured Nigerians that they were going to look into the issue of subsidy, that subsidy was corruption, and they were going to remove it totally. So when the first pump price increase came, Nigerians were saying, oh, maybe this is really the removal of subsidy. Nigerians don't want to hear the word subsidy. So cleverly, those at the decision table removed the word subsidy and replaced it with under recoveries. So when you hear in the petroleum sector, we talk about under recoveries, we're actually talking about subsidy, but not in the same way that Nigerians used to hear about it. So when you go to the table, you are not hearing subsidy. Nigerians say, oh, this is very good. This is working very well. So what does it mean under recovery, and what is the meaning of subsidy? Subsidy means that you want to give something to people, but because you know it's coming at a very high price, government is filling the gap. They take off a percentage of the cost you're supposed to pay and then put it into the budget to pay. And that's what subsidy is. Then what is under recovery? Under recovery is saying if you bring something into the country for $1 and then you feel that the pain that the people will pay, because definitely if you are bringing it into the country for $1, you have to include other costs.
Right.
Other costs, taxes, landing costs, transportation costs, cost of moving in from one ship to the other. All of those costs put together may make $1 to become $5. So government says, okay, I'm going to take care of the $4 so that you can take care of the $1. The person that brought it into the country at $1 and eventually paying $5 to get it into your car will still have to be paid his or her $5. So what you say is that there is an under recovery. So who takes care of that under recovery? Government pays that. So it's still the same thing. The subsidy under recovery, we're just changing terminologies, but it is still the same procedure.
Subsidy on the recovery, and so I'm sure this whole argument, and this has happened right after the study was concluded, and to imagine that we're still faced with that argument, I'm sure would leave a sore taste in your mouth. The efficiencies are so many, but if you're going to highlight, for example, the top 3 inefficiencies you found in the chain, for which listeners would want to. And people who are watching would want to understand how serious the problem we face in the downstream sector. What are those inefficiencies you would want to mention?
Okay, for instance, when you come to the downstream sector, we have the PPPRA that is supposed to be the one that is really putting the price and recommending to NNPC and other marketers a cost. The PPPRA is an agency of government, but we see that the PPPRA does not really have the capacity to be able to do all of this. So you go to the regulator, that's the PPPRA. In 2020, there was this regulation about market-based pricing that they're supposed to use. Now, PPPRA is supposed to help to monitor the trends of the market, right, and in doing that trend of the market, be able to get what's it called, do all of those things, come out with a template and advise that this is what we have looked at. Right. But we see that they don't really have that capacity to interpret that act, the 2020 regulatory act that they're supposed to be interpreting. Right. And then we also have inefficiencies around the transparent computation of the landing cost. What is a landing cost? the other issues I mentioned earlier, like for instance, if you look at the taxes, the cost of putting it from one ship to the other,
Right.
the cost of moving it from one jetty to the other, and other things, they don't really have that capacity to be able to do that.
And I see that there's also some lack of a clear understanding. For example, Faith, are you still there? All right, we'll try and reconnect with Faith Nwadishi, but in case you just joined in, we're having a big discussion this morning on Pinpoint, asking the question, what drives corruption in the distribution of petrol? And a study's been done, and it's a study I've been looking at with Faith Nwadishi. Faith Nwadishi is she's part of the working group for the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. So we just lost connection with her, but we'll connect with her and then. All right.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Network went out. So
Yeah.
I was trying to talk about the inefficiencies that we had seen along the value chain. So
Right. Okay.
And also have
all right. I'm sorry, Faith, but okay. Looks like we're having some disruption. We'll just try and fix that, and then see if we can get some stable network and then continue from where you left off. Okay. All right. So we'll fix that very quickly, and Faith Nwadishi will rejoin the conversation. Great work's been done. And she's the convener, Women in Extractives in Nigeria, and it's something she's been doing for several years. So it's the report that has been put out and the study which has grabbed our attention on how the system, unfortunately, has been inefficient and it hasn't worked. So she's been talking about what has been driving the corruption in the system, and many of the high points that we found out in the report, which has been done, put together with other paper, shows us that there is a problem with a number of things there. But I think we have connection with you again.
Okay.
Great. I hope this stays well. All right. So you've highlighted some of the inefficiencies in the system. And I was going to ask a question. This has always troubled many people because people had said this was the bedrock in which the corruption had happened, the importation regime. We have no idea how much PMS is consumed in the country, which was one of the problems they had with the last administration. You had importers giving monies and subsidies to go and import fuel. But because of a number of factors, they say, for example, the price of PMS outside the shores of this country is way higher than what you had. And it was a great incentive for people to go and smuggle these things out. And when we asked those in government in recent interviews we've had with them, they said it no longer exists. But I'm surprised in the report it does highlight that the problem exists, that we have no idea how much PMS is consumed in this country.
That's true. And I was just going to get to that. Now, I talked about the fact that initially we thought that to sustain the in-country consumption of petroleum, PMS, we had that 445,000 barrels per day. Our refineries were supposed to produce that. And when you produce crude, you also have some other byproducts, which we are not talking about. So now, what the regime has done is that PPPRA was also supposed to determine the volume of consumption per day in the country. Now, this is what happens. You get trucks. You see all of those trucks that line up.
Right.
You go in to get PMS, and somebody is there counting the number of trucks based on the liter of petrol you're able to carry, and that's done manually. It's not done anywhere in the world.
Wow.
That's done manually. So you count based on the number of trucks that leave the depot on a particular day. So that will help you to determine the volume of petroleum that is done. Now, usually before they leave, on each truck there's a device that is put on each truck that is monitored and sent back to the center to say, this is the volume that this truck has taken, and this is where it's supposed to go to. But unfortunately, along the line of transportation, you find that people get smart and they remove that device from the system. So you are not able to track that. You are not able to track that truck. You don't know exactly where it's going to. You know, when you travel the roads of Nigeria, you see a lot of petroleum task forces. They say they are there trying to determine the volume of petroleum that is going where it's going to. You can actually let go a tanker from the depot. You are going to XYZ state or XYZ petrol station, but you get there and you don't find that truck, and there's nobody that gives an account of that, because along the line people have been bribed, people have taken bribe to ensure that this report does not come out. And then, but because of the landing costs and the issues of under recoveries that you have in Nigeria, people now are smart enough to, like, you want to take the petrol out of the country because that is where the pump price is higher. Truly, Nigeria has one of the lowest pump prices in the world. But again, when people bring this argument of Nigeria low pump price, I begin to ask, how many countries in the world have the volume of crude that we have? Nigeria is the 7th largest in the world, the first in Africa. Angola used to be 1, but now we are top. We produce about 2.3 million barrels of crude per day. But what do we do with that 2.3 million barrels per crude per day? We send it out. If our refineries were working and we're refining the 445,000 barrels per day, we won't have this issue of comparing the price of crude with price of crude in other countries where you don't even have the volumes that we have or the volumes that we produce on daily basis. So that's one of it. And then the issue about documentation.
Right.
I tell you, our documentation is very rustic. We don't have that. This truck in, truck out details are put on a document, on a piece of paper. Just like, you go to the motor parks, you have the motor park people there putting just ticking off the number of cars, or like giving a tag. That's what happens. So we don't really have that data put into that. So it's terrible. It's really terrible. The documentation process, the system of trucking in and trucking in the trucks that go out, the system of documenting them, the system of tracking is really rustic, and we need to really work on all of this.
Really work on it as quickly as possible. In case you just joined the conversation, Faith Nwadishi is the convener, Women in Extractives in Nigeria. She's got years of experience working with the Extractives Initiative, Transparency Initiative, rather. And this discussion becomes, you've mentioned the PPRA that looks more like a sitting, a toothless bulldog, a sitting dog, waiting for stuff to happen around it and cannot really affect anything. Another major actor, the NNPC. What did you find out? Interestingly, the National Assembly is carrying out an investigation into, it says, nearly 4 trillion naira unremitted. And when you paint this picture of things being done manually, it leaves us small wonder to understand, to really know that there's a lot of lack of transparency in how things happen with the NNPC. But help us understand what's going on with NNPC's role in all of this chain process.
Now, NNPC is the sole importer of products. So when you look at it, you say there's a monopoly because they're the only ones that are doing that. NNPC is both a player and a regulator. But DPRO under NNPC is the regulator on that. So when you have NNPC that remains in monopoly importer of PMS due to lack of access of foreign exchange, then it becomes a problem in the sector for other players. So you have NNPC sitting there and is determining who we should give this product to, how we should bring it, and sits down also to calculate the under recoveries. So when you hear issues around under recoveries, it goes to NNPC. I know until recently we didn't really know anything about NNPC's. We didn't really know anything about NNPC's transactions. The EITI reports in Nigeria, the native reports in Nigeria, for years upon years, kept talking about NNPC not remitting to the federation account. And so that's where all of this corruption comes in. So when you have a sector like the oil and gas sector, and you have government in NNPC being the sole player, definitely there is a problem. And that's why it's important that we look at, if we're saying that we have a government agency that sits down to give, in fact, what PPPRA was supposed to do is to give a guiding price mark based on market prices. Based on market prices. But you only do market prices when you have other people also import finished products into the country. Since NNPC became the sole importer of finished products into the country, we started having that issue, because now it's like, oh, I'm sitting down here, whoever I want to give that, I want to allow to plays. And that's how NNPC went into the recent contracts they went into, called the direct sales, direct purchase contract. Incidentally, we just sent a letter, an FOI inquiry to NNPC to let us have information about the content of the DSDP contracts that they have signed. We're yet to hear anything from them, because we want to see the content. We want to see the whatever it is that they are signing, and whatever it is that makes NNPC sit down at the table and decide who should be the one that will be part of this process, and also be able to send the petroleum products to our country. So marketers are complaining, labor is complaining, Nigerians are complaining at the end of the day, because really in this type of sector where you have one person monopoly, it's definitely going to be a big problem.
Definitely going to be a big problem. Faith Nwadishi, again, is the convener of Women in Extractives in Nigeria, and we're having this discussion around a report which has been done to understand just how transparent or not so transparent the downstream sector is. And it's affecting everything from the landing cost to the pricing of petrol to the importation of petrol. And it affects every single one of us who've been following the news in the last couple of days. We're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion on what are the drivers of corruption in the distribution of petrol.
Guy, you don't see that new funny video for Twitter? That one with the boy.
You mean this one?
What of that brother Shaggy News Kitty? Where they circulate WhatsApp?
This one.
What of that meme? Where the guy?
When mouth open like this, ba?
Mr. Noito, which data you they use know all these things?
Now, Glow new data plans get me. Are you serious? With just 50 naira, and they get 50 MB. And with just 100 naira, and they get 150 MB. We have to use chat or browse on top Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and even Snapchat. Don't dull yourself, oh. Dial star 777 hash now. Make you begin the browse, they go.
Glow Unlimited. Celebration brought to you by Eco Hotels and Suites. Remember, we So only limited packages are up for grabs. Hurry now and get a package for your family. For details, please call 0808-057-1838 or 0806-588-1783. The Hippity Hoppity Easter at Aghogho Hotels and Suites, powered by Maltina.
Aghogho Hotels and Suites, nesting international standards with African hospitality.
Are you a young creative designer? Do you love culture? Tune in to the Ethical Fashion Show every Friday to discover how sustainable fashion trends are leading developments of African design talents. The Ethical Fashion Show every Friday, 12:15 p.m. on your number one station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Brought to you by Ethical Fashion Initiative.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
All right, welcome back. And how time flies when you're having a great discussion. Faith Nwadishi is still with us. She's convener, Women in Extractives in Nigeria. And we're having a discussion around inefficiency and corruption in the distribution of petrol. I've seen a number of messages come in on WhatsApp, on Twitter, as well as on Facebook. Those of you can watch live. I see that you can drop your comments and questions if you've got any for her. She would love to hear what they are. We're going to get shortly to what recommendations that she has to make this work. It's not only about pointing out where the problems are, but also recommendations also on how to make the system more efficient. So let me do this first. Let me go get some of the messages on Twitter. Then I will come back, Faith, to you on what you are recommending for us to do. This is Busy Brain on Twitter. He says, God bless you, Faith. You hit the nail on the head. Raf Chima says, would it be right to say that this administration and the Minister of Petroleum, who is also the president, are conny men? A rhetorical question, I can imagine. And that's me trying to be polite. And thanks for your guest for not mincing words and trying to be not to be politically correct. John Bosco Willie Mighty says, I think the only chain that drives corruption in the oil and gas sector are the oil marketers, Pengasan inclusive, no doubt about it, and it's been so for the past 15 to 20 years. It's not just today's thing. The unions are worse than the government, in all honesty. I'll get Faith to respond to what they did see in the unions. With Okwe Kende on WhatsApp, he says, our problem is building new refinery. If we have it fixed, all this subsidy scam will be a thing of the past. Repairing of Port Harcourt refinery is a waste of money. Refineries are dated. Who are the technicians that are going to work on it? As at the time being commissioned, it has been outdated since. And so keep sending those messages. But Faith, a number of comments I've reeled out here. Do you want to respond to any of them?
Yes, I had that. I think most of them, especially the last one that talked about rebuilding our refineries,
Right.
I truly want to agree with that. Just
Right.
recently, we heard that the federal government has made another $1.5 billion. That's about the 700 billion naira available again for the repairs of the refinery. Remember, in 2008 or so, about $300 million not 2000, I think 2018, about $300 million was made available to repair the same refinery, and we did not hear anything out of that. The same time, the NNPC report came out to say these refineries have been paying staff and gulping money, and there's no return on investment. And then we're still putting money there. I don't know what is informing the whole decision around putting money into a refinery that is not working. I think they should just privatize it and let's have the private sector running our refineries, and let's see what's happening. Because if an individual like Dangote and of course some others, other refineries that are coming up can actually do it, I don't see why we cannot make us work. So you let me quickly go on the recommendation. The report actually had 3 sets of recommendations: short term, medium term, and the long term. The first is that if we want to make our product or our sector competitive, you need to open up the market. You cannot allow NNPC be the sole importer of PMS. If you allow NNPC be the sole importer of PMS, then this whole idea of saying you are pegging the market price, you are getting PPPRA to give a guiding price regime to the marketers. It doesn't work in a monopoly, because at the end of the day, PPPRA will be dancing to the whims and caprices of NNPC, the master of all. So you have that. You need to open up the market and allow other people, and that also will ask CBN to ensure that they provide access to foreign exchange to the marketers. You do not expect them to seek foreign exchange somewhere and be selling at the same price that that NNPC is selling. And then the whole idea of using the prevailing market price to peg prices, PPPRA should make that more transparent. They should come out on monthly basis. They shouldn't wait, after a long while. The last time where we had that, they had done that on their website. I saw it, and then suddenly they put it. I don't know why I didn't screen grab that. Maybe that would have been a better example.
It's available everywhere now. We know what's in their mind before the action happens. But go ahead, Faith.
Exactly. So it's there. And then we have also that NNPC cost for PMS import should be publicly disclosed. You want to know how much NNPC is bringing in the products into the country.
Right.
So help people understand the reason why you are giving the guiding price for other people. And then there's a basis of fixing the margin of market players. Unless a price ceiling is to be imposed by the regulator, you need to, it all boils down to the issue of opening up the market and removing NNPC as a sole player in the entire sector. And of course, we recommended that there should be an audit.
Great.
There should be an audit. If the PPPRA continues to determine the volume of consumption per day based on the number of trucks that leave the depot, and we know that is not done in a transparent manner, we need to have an audit of the entire process. Where did we get here? How did we, all these regimes, prices that we have been having, how did we get that? Remember, there was a time we had an over recovery. If you look at I think there was a time I did a small research and found out that we had an over recovery when at the end of the landing cost, and everything in it was about 127 naira per liter. Great. But we were still selling 145 naira per liter in the country. So we had an over recovery. What happened during that period that we had that over recovery? Because nobody hears about over recovery. We keep hearing about under recovery. So, and then in the midterm, we said that the petroleum industry bill is long overdue. Right. Very soon we will start talking about children that were born when the petroleum industry bill was first started, and now they have become adults. So it's 20 years and counting. We should please quickly pass the petroleum industry bill, and then let's fix our sector. Let's fix this sector that economists have said accounts for over 80% of our revenues. Let's fix it once and for all. And then, of course, expand ports capacity to receive liquid in greater quantities and huge discharge rates. So when we do that, it helps us. These are things that operators in the sector truly understand. These are recommendations that are coming. And then on the long term, NNPC's refineries need to be continuously in operation for the pipelines and depots to be effectively operated.
Right.
So the only way to do that is not to pump $1.5 billion. That's not our recommendation. Our recommendation is to go through a very transparent, open bidding, allow the private sector to come into that into refining in our country, and let us utilize fully our product. We produce 2.3 million barrels per day. By the way, 2.3 million barrels per day production that we talk about is based on the number at the export terminal. It's not at the wellheads. So if you want to say $2.3 million, there's another conversation around what is the actual production rate that we have in the country. We do not have that because at the wellheads, we don't take the volume of crude that is produced. Right. It is at the export terminal when the parties are about to leave. The international oil companies what they put on their data is what we record as our daily production of 2.3 million barrels. Nigerians should know that. So these are issues we need to begin to look at, and also ensure that government takes a holistic look at the entire downstream sector and improve the efficiency in that sector.
Massive work you've done. Thank you very much, Faith Nwadishi. I'm going to open the phone line so that the listening audience, I'm sure many of them want to ask questions, want to contribute on this subject, because into the murky waters you've gone, and somehow you've been able to make recommendations out of a system where many things are happening manually, and we're having to depend on the IOCs to tell us how much oil we are getting out of the country. So many questions, but we'll try as much as possible to see how many we can entertain. So please, if you call in, just go straight to the point so that we can have Faith Nwadishi respond to as many of the questions as possible. 0700 993 993 993. Again, 0700 993 993 993. And then we have a female-only line. You can call in, ladies who are listening. It's 014657190. Again, 014657190. And then you can also talk to us on WhatsApp, 0809 597 5805. Great. So let's go. Let's see who we have first to the block. Hello and good morning. Hello and good morning. All right, that one went out. Hello and good morning.
Yes, Chief Oboh, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Shaku Maku.
Hey, Makushi.
Yeah, I want to thank Faith Nwadishi for the good job. Chief Oboh, supposing we make this woman a minister of petroleum, what do you think will happen?
No, we need her on the sidelines to do all the studies and examination like this.
No. She should be at the center of. And I'm surprised that with all the brain that this guy has, Ibe Kachuku, all these things happen under him. Then what I want to tell Nigerians, I said this corruption fight is not one man fight. They said no, Jonathan is corrupt. Buhari would do it. I said no, he cannot. I'm really happy that he disappointed his supporters. Thank you very much.
Oh, all right, thank you very much. Let's keep the calls coming in. Hello and good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Great. Well, what's your name, please, and where you calling
from? Yeah, my name is Aghogho. I'm calling from Bagada.
All right, Aghogho, go ahead.
Yeah, the problem with that department is incompetence of leadership. We have a minister that is incompetent and that is dormant. We have the directors. Have you ever Googled the directors of the NNPC, and you discover that 75% of them are from the north, and there are many of them are incompetent. And so they couldn't have given any better results if from ab initio they are incompetent. So this is what we have experienced over the years. And I don't know why the president, who doubles as the minister as well as the president, did wipe all this corruption that is in there.
Right.
And so until the rising, I have last time advocated for the adoption of a doctrine of necessity, as it were. The National Assembly should consider that. Otherwise, the nation is going down.
All right, thank you very much. But just to point out, where they come from really has no, if you see from Faith Nwadishi's report, it has nothing about ethnic bias or anything. I mean, it's just a system where the entire chain, whether from the north or the south, reeks of corruption. So let's stay focused on what the issues are, Aguma. All right. Hello and good morning.
Good morning.
Great.
Mr. Aghogho.
Great. Excellent. What's your name, please, and where are you calling from?
You are on top. I want some clarifications of what your guests have said on the studio.
All right, go ahead.
The 445,000 barrels is the capacity installed in all Nigerian four refineries to process per day. The actual allocation to NNPC for local consumption is 450,000 barrels per day. I could give you a breakdown of all this. And she is correct when she said that the daily production is a record of what goes out of the country, which is actually not correct. which is actually not correct. So actually take the data record of the daily production of crude oil per day. It is not either from the wellhead. It's not from the wellhead either, but from the flow stations where the ones that have been processed. A whole lot of technicalities. I could go on and on and on. But aside that, when you talk, she was brilliant and excellent on that recovery. Yes, it simply means subsidy. And in a situation, Aghogho, are you still there?
We're here. We're listening to you.
Okay, in a situation whereby the NNPC is giving the dollar at a particular rate, and the state government is the one who tells you that there is a landing cost. Landing, the Nigerians are not asking the right questions. Landing cost from where? As at the moment, there is a swap deal for the 450,000 barrels per day of crude oil for local consumption given to the NNPC, and the NNPC takes it out for refining outside and brings it back. So when there's a whole lot of criminal corruptions are going on in this industry, which I have technical details about, and even the IOC, are they not guilty of also, when you talk about oil theft and all that, is the record against for you that you take? I'm talking about tankers leaving the depot.
Right.
Yes.
Very
the
quickly.
CPRO put a start there. Immediately the tanker is out of the start. It takes 10,000 and it gets out of the tanker. So why wouldn't there be corruption? So we're not asking the right question. What happens to the 450,000 barrels per day, which is amounts to 35 million liters of PMS alone? Kerosene is about 12 million liters per day, and diesel is around 9 million liters. All these products, you're only talking about PMS alone. I think Nigerians, when you say we are smart, we are this, I kind of question.
Right, I agree with you. Big question. But with the PMS, because it's the major component of importation, which is why we're focusing on it to see just what exactly is going on with it. But thank you very much for your great observations. Hello and good morning.
Good morning, Shaku Maku.
Hey, Makushi. Your name, please, and where you calling from?
It's MI from Akoka.
MI, great to have you join us this morning. Go ahead.
I want to celebrate that woman, for professionalism and speaking the truth. Instead of saying the king is naked, say that he's wearing. Instead of saying he's wearing an invisible garment, say that he's naked. Do you understand?
Right.
The government the government inherited petrol at 84 naira, and they came promising they will turn around like Oboh, they will turn things around. You wake up in your city of office to say you want to repair a refinery. It's like a man that has been sleeping throughout the day. You now wake up in the night to look for a black book. Aghogho, do you think you will find it? You wake up in the night to look for a black book. You say you will find it. And you think Nigerians will clap for you? $1.5 billion. How much is a brand new refinery? The biggest problem in Nigeria is not corruption or it's hypocrisy. Until we start looking at ourselves eye to eye and tell the truth, Nigeria will not go forward. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, MI. So, Faith, maybe I get your response before we take the next set of observations and questions.
Exactly. I just want to address the other question about the 445,000 barrels. We've just said the same thing. The fact that the nameplate capacity of our refineries is 445,000 barrels per day. We have never produced 445,000 barrels per day. Reports upon reports, the Navy reports are there that have shown that the highest we have ever produced about 20%. 20% of that. So even we know that we have 445,000 barrels per day capacity for refineries in this country, and somebody sat down somewhere and said the daily allocation to NNPC is 450. Where are you expecting to get the 15,000 barrels? 5,000 barrels deficit that we have? Where were we expecting to get that? So right from the beginning, corruption, even in putting all of those calculations, corruption had started. So it's not a conversation we should be saying, oh, this is right, this is right. We are saying the same thing. We have 445,000 barrels per day capacity refineries in this country, and they are not working yet. There are people working in those institutions, and they are paid on daily basis.
They are paid on daily basis. So we are paying them. Right, to put you on record, from your study, all the 4 refineries, none of them is producing any PMS, is what you're saying.
No. We're not producing. The highest we have ever produced in this country, according to the native report, is where we have heard about 20% capacity produced in this country. And then, the swap deals, what we were doing at the time was that we will send our crude oil out and then bring in PMS.
Yeah.
But when you refine crude, you're not only getting PMS, you're supposed to get kerosene, you're supposed to get aviation fuel, you're supposed to get diesel, you're supposed to get some other, about 15 different products that you get when you refine just one barrel of crude. So what is happening to the other hand? Now, what is happening is that you take our crude, you take it to refineries in Europe, they refine and send us back a few of the products. A few of the products. But there's another study, a whole study, I think maybe what you should do, look at it, on the corruption, even in the swap deals that we had before we now came to these direct sales, direct purchase deals that is going on right now.
Right, which is what we're going to bring you in later on, because I see so many questions and comments. We'll take in 2 more calls because we're pressed for time. Let me hear whether we got questions and comments or suggestions. Hello and good morning.
Yeah, Chekuma. Good morning, sir.
Great to have you join us.
That is Comrade Ibe calling.
Comrade Ibe, great to have you join us.
And good morning to Madam. May God bless you, ma. My question is this. With this audit analysis, now we have a government that came in, they say want to fight corruption to the 0% or 0 level. Now the corruption now is giving pregnancy on daily basis under this APC and Buhari-led government. Please, this issue of subsidy, does it mean Nigeria, federal government that still pays subsidy? That's number one. And again, this is the government that told us they are coming to revive the whole refinery. And we are going to buy fuel at a rate of 40 naira per liter. Please, if you can answer me this question.
All right.
I remember under Jonathan, some people went to Ojota, occupy Ojota, because Jonathan went to come up with 100 naira per liter. Now we are buying fuel close to 200 naira. Those guys that went to Ojota, are they still living? Or have they all died?
All right, thank you. She cannot respond to that side of the question. She probably will she knows more of the technical aspect. So let's take one more call and then hello and good morning.
Hello, good morning, Aghogho.
Great. What's your name, please, and where are you calling from?
I am Doom from Surulere.
Doom. You're the last caller this morning. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Please, Aghogho, I want to ask you a question. I commend her for her personality in oil industry. And the question is that, do you think that the appointment of politicians to head and supervise our oil industry and impediment to the user reform? I don't know why I ask this question, because I sincerely believe that politicians and political parties is a flaw on our oil industry. When a situation where you appoint the politicians...
All right, Ezedum, we're struggling to hear you, but before you start to answer the question you've asked, so Faith, we have just 2 minutes. I don't know how you're going to do it, but go ahead and make your comments.
Thank you very much. I just want to say that Nigerians are quite passionate about all of these things, and then we cannot sleep on and just forget about that. As per the issue of appointment of politicians, we have people. The president, for instance, is not new to oil and gas matters. He is the Minister of Petroleum. He was once the head of PTF, that's the Petroleum Trust Fund. So, and he's been quite in the sector itself. So, if you have politicians who have the necessary requirements and capacity to head that. We once had a Kachuku Ibe, who was an industrial expert, as head and Minister of State for Petroleum, and we saw all of that is happening very well. That we just quickly allow me to say this: we have been talking about the downstream sector and all that it goes on around, because we are talking about PMS, but we keep forgetting about gas. Nigeria is more of a gas country than a crude oil country, but we keep flaring our gas instead of collecting that. We keep shifting the goalpost. Since 1969, we have been shifting it. And just recently, the federal government has shifted it again to 2025. In 2016, the government said they were going to end it in 2020. And just 2 weeks, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the Minister of State came to say they have shifted it again to 2025. Nigerians should be outraged about all of this. Thank you so much for this platform and the great work that you are doing.
Thank you very much. And we'll try and bring Faith Nwadishi here again because there's so many issues around transparency that she will help us with to better understand, because the more we understand, the better we are as a people. Thank you very much, Faith.
Thank you. And thank you, other people, for this wonderful research that you did.
Excellent. All right, and so that's it on Pinpoint. You can always continue the conversation on social media, on Twitter, and you find out some more. I'll see if I can put out the high points of that report done by other paper on the transparency work, which is such a murky waters which we live and dwell in. At the top of the hour, Jimmy Disu comes up with the discourse, and I will be with you again next week. Do have yourself a fantastic weekend and stay safe. Yalla, 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 yalla.